Is LA Knight gonna get booked like a jobber? Yeah. Is he gonna job out every week? Yeah. Is he gonna get his mic cut off mid promo? Yeah. Is he gonna lose every meaningful match? Yeah. Does Triple H hate LA Knight? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's over. I am someone who has supported LA Knight from the jump. You know what I'm saying? From the jump. Ever since 2023, when this dude finally actually got over, you know what I'm saying, on his own, which, you know, Triple H does not like that. Triple Fraud's ego can't handle when an actual star gets made and it's not of his own doing, because he knows he sucks at building stars. Hence why your Survivor Series War Games, literally 8 or 7 out of the 10 competitors are all 40-year-olds plus, or they're part-timers like Lesnar and Romano and Logano Paul. It's as simple as that. This guy, Triple Fraud, has an absolute issue. His ego is getting in the way of everything. I talked about this last week or the week before, and it's getting ridiculous at this point. On John Cena's final Raw in Boston, we're opening up hearing bow down to the, bow down to the, bow down to the. Stop. Ain't nobody trying to hear about no bow down to the game. This dude's a jobber and he sucks at his job. Talking about some bow down to the game. You stink. Now, we move on from that, and that's not the point. The point is I've officially given up on LA Knight. Obviously, I've said numerous times over the last year, this dude can cut promos. He knows how to tell stories. He's obviously very charismatic. He's entertaining. He's good in ring, and he's actually been developing his moveset over the last year even more than what he already had as well. And obviously, LA Knight at this point is one of the most over acts in the entirety of the faces, you know what I'm saying, in the men's division. And it's as simple as that, and it's been this way now going on 2 years. And amidst all of this, Triple H has ruined this guy's career, because it's no secret this dude does not like LA Knight. It's as simple as that. There's many theories as to why Triple H hates him, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, what it boils down to is a mixture of ego, and Triple H either can't see what he has in LA Knight or is purposefully not giving LA Knight a top spot, because LA Knight either doesn't go around with the Triple H, you know, crap that he does backstage, his crappy booking, and his garbage storytelling for people like LA Knight or like a Drew McIntyre, you know what I'm saying? It's frustrating, and LA Knight probably voices those frustrations. He's alluded to it in interviews multiple times, and that probably pissed Triple H off as he's sitting back there showing up to the White House more than he's showing up backstage booking shows. This dude has the audacity to still flex his ego regardless, and because LA Knight got himself over, he clearly has some bravado. Triple H just can't stand it. It's as simple as that. And so because of that reason, he's had LA Knight basically do the same stuff for years and years at this point, months and months of constantly losing meaningful matches in hopes of people basically giving up on LA Knight, like most of us have now, because Triple H has actually successfully sabotaged LA Knight. He has him lose every single meaningful match, do essentially nothing week to week, nothing of meaning, obviously, to further himself from him just being a guy who's super over, and because of that, Triple H is basically sabotaging his career. He likes doing this. That's Triple H sucks at booking, but the funny thing is he's really good at sabotaging people's careers if you really look at it, right? Look what he's done to LA Knight. Look what he did to Drew McIntyre, because he can't stop thinking about Cody, and he can't stop thinking about Randy, and he can't stop thinking about Punk. And now you look at Drew McIntyre, he is a jobber. He's great at everything as a professional wrestler. He's a great performer, and he has been relegated to jobbing out. Lost to Jimmy Uso this year, lost to Jey Uso this year, has not won anything meaningful since COVID. You know what I'm saying? Like, how could you be as good as Drew McIntyre and have the presentation of him and not win anything meaningful since COVID? You understand how embarrassing that is? Romano Reigns, ever since the OTC arc started, he's done nothing of meaning. He lost to Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed is a mid-card or undercard jobber, and Roman Reigns is getting pinned by this dude after one finisher. It's just, none of it is acceptable, man. What, Jey Uso speared Roman into a table, and then he gets tsunami'd and the match is over? It's dumb, it's unacceptable. So Roman Reigns' OTC arc sucks, and it's been sabotaged by Triple H. Carmelo Hayes is sitting in catering, doing absolutely nothing, even though he's capable of being good at literally everything. He already has been proven. Everything you need to be a good professional wrestler, Carmelo Hayes basically has those abilities. It's the same thing with a Montez Ford, you know what I'm saying, who's barely being utilized. He's in catering along with Dawkins. Randy Orton is also in catering at this point. Hasn't been seen in like a month or two at this point, but it's been like 2 months, it feels like. And on top of that, you also have John Cena, the greatest of all time, the Never Seen 17, whose retirement tour has been absolutely sabotaged and ruined by Triple Fraud, and there's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. And even other situations like Trick Williams and Obafemi, like I said, being super seniors in NXT when they should be on the main roster doing things. It's funny that, you know, LA Knight obviously used to be had the max Dupree gimmick with, you know what I'm saying, with, what's it called, with Maxine Dupree, you know what I'm saying? It eventually, recently on Raw, Maximilian Dupree won an Intercontinental Championship, okay? She won that by hitting a crossbody and pinning one of the greatest women's wrestlers ever in Becky Lynch. But LA Knight can't win anything above a meaningless U.S. Championship at SummerSlam last year. But Maximilian Dupree is going to walk out there and win an Intercontinental Championship when she's had 10 live TV matches since January of 2024. Are you kidding me? Maxine Dupree has had 10 televised matches since January of 2024, bro. It's been over 22 months, and Maxine Dupree gets an Intercontinental Championship after only having, 10 matches, right? And LA Knight's been over. He's been good in the ring, on the mic, in the backstage segments. He's been good at telling stories. He's super over, and he has won nothing above a U.S. Championship? And you're telling me that this is it's unbelievable. You're telling me that Triple H does not hate this dude? It's as simple as that. There's no excuses at this point. If you thought LA Knight was a flash in the pan, that's fine. But then why was he over in 2024 still? Why was he over after he got buried multiple times? Why is he still over now, even though Triple H is doing everything he can to ruin this dude's career? It's unacceptable, man. The excuses are running out. You can try and say, oh, he's a flash in the pan. It's been 2 years. And if you're talking about flash in the pans, why is it that Jey Uso yeeted for a year and got over? He got an Intercontinental Championship, and then he got a World Championship win by tapping out Gunther, the guy who's going to be pinning John Cena or destroying John Cena probably at Saturday Night Main Event. And Jey Uso tapped that dude out in 5 seconds. But now all of a sudden, LA Knight just can't get anything, even though he's been super over for 2 years. He gets nothing. Jey Uso's over for a year. He yeets and gets an IC title and then a world title at Mania. It's none of it makes sense, and it all points to favoritism and him hating LA Knight and having a big ego. It's just unexplainable at this point. It's just ridiculous, bro. So let's look over what's happened to LA Knight over the last few years that has led to this point. Starting off in 2023, he gets over. If you want evidence of him getting over, go back and watch the Money in the Bank in 2023. That was like the first climax of him really getting over. A lot of fans wanted him to win the Money in the Bank. He would have been a lot better of a winner than Damiano Priest. I mean, why couldn't you have, for example, why couldn't you have had LA Knight be the one to cash in on Drew McIntyre at Mania 40? You know what I'm saying? Imagine how big of a moment that would have been for LA Knight. That would have been pretty awesome for him, And he could have held it throughout the summer and then maybe dropped it at SummerSlam or held it as a Survivor Series, whatever. But instead, he didn't win the Money in the Bank in 2023, and he just proceeded to wrestle Solo Sikoa 18 times on SmackDown until he eventually fought Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel in 2023. He lost, obviously. Then at Royal Rumble, in the Fatal 4 for the WWE Championship with him, Romano, Randy, and AJ Styles, he jobbed out again and lost that match. AJ Styles, then he beat him at WrestleMania, WrestleMania 40. And then after that, he jobbed out for a few months doing absolutely nothing. And then he won a consolation prize in the form of a U.S. Championship after he beat Logan Paul at SummerSlam last year. After that, he had a mid-reign where he fought against the same people. It was like him versus Santos Escobar 8 times. And then he fought Andrade and Carmelo Hayes 2 or 3 times each, and then he ended up losing the belt to Shinsuke Nakamura, who hadn't even been seen for around a year at this point, and he comes back and just takes the belt from LA Knight. There's no care put into anything this dude does. This dude could have actually been a megastar, but instead he's a jobber, and it's unacceptable, and Triple H sucks at his job, you know what I'm saying? That's just what it is at this point. And the fact that he proceeded to win the U.S. Championship back a couple months after losing it to Shinsuke at Survivor Series last year, he wins it back just to lose it a couple months later at Mania 41 to Jacoby Fatu, who hasn't been seen doing anything meaningful in over a year at this point since his whole gimmick with the bloodline thing and the I love you solo. That's it. It's just none of this stuff is acceptable, man. He jobbed out all summer this year to the Vision. He beat Seth Rollins because Rollins' knee was injured in the match, you know what I'm saying? And that's what they did with the storyline. So they had LA Knight just pin Seth Rollins. But what does that actually accomplish? What did that accomplish in the long run? Because after he pinned Seth Rollins at Saturday Night Main Event this year, which in storyline they blamed it on an injury, obviously, and on top of that, afterwards he proceeded to just lose to Bronson Reed and lose to Braun Breaker and then lose to Bronson Reed and then lose to Braun Breaker. It was a repeat. He's lost to Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker combined at least 4 to 5 times, it feels like, in the last 2 or 3 months alone. And you would think that all that would lead to him eventually, having any world title shot or anything, you know what I'm saying? He had multiple world title opportunities this year and has lost all of them, and it's just been ridiculous. There's been no care or effort put into it. And I guarantee you, bro, one of CM Punk's feuds before Mania next year will likely be him and LA Knight, and LA Knight is going to get pinned clean by CM Punk. It's as simple as that. They're gonna have some good promos probably, but they're gonna move on immediately. And you fast forward, he can't even get a spot at War Games. This dude has been feuding with Division more than anyone this summer besides Jey Uso, and he still can't get on the War Games team. But Romano Reigns, who's barely there, CM Punk, who, you know what I'm saying, has had on and off feud with Division, and Cody Rhodes, who has no history with Division at all in comparison to LA Knight. He's done nothing with Division compared to what LA Knight's done, and he gets a spot on the team. But LA Knight is proceeding to not even probably be on their Survivor Series card, lose all the world title matches, and not even be in the War Games match that he is supposed to be in. And then you factor that up with he's cutting a promo during the commercial break on Raw a few weeks ago, and his mic gets cut off? Are you kidding? Like, this is embarrassing, man. LA Knight gets no care and zero respect, and now you top it off, and he's in the John Cena Last Time Is Now tournament. That's good for him, but what happens in the tournament, guys? They feed a jobber like Zachary Ryder to LA Knight in this tournament. They give him scraps. Hey, here's Zack Ryder, bro. You're not going to pin anyone of value. Go take this Zack Ryder match, and the next week we'll have you lose to Carmelo Hayes or Gunther or somebody else, and we'll move on from there. It's disrespectful, man. You can't be that good and have nothing. I'm not saying that LA Knight would be on the level of someone like a Roman Reigns or even someone above it like a John Cena or like a Rock or anything like that. But LA Knight could easily be an actual credible superstar in today's WWE landscape. If you have jobbers like Codarius Rodington who are not better than LA Knight at literally anything, and they're winning WWE championships and having 300-day title reigns, 400-day title reigns, why is it that LA Knight, in the midst of Cody getting 2 WWE championship runs, he couldn't even get an Intercontinental run? Or a world title run? Nothing. This is the stuff that's just infuriating about this company, man, and that's the problem. And I really hope that Triple H either gets removed from his job, relieved from his duties, or at the end of the day just actually decides to start booking based off of who the most talented wrestlers are and how he can actually build stars. But maybe he doesn't know how to build stars. I think that's pretty evident now at this point, as we've seen for the last few years since he's taken over the booking from Vincent McMahon. And now you also have this, right? This is an idea that I have for LA Knight to top this off. This is the last thing I want to say. If you really wanted to, you could have given LA Knight an amazing story, and you still can do this to an extent. But let's just say that LA Knight has a problem backstage with the Authority. The Authority in this storyline being triple fraud, you know what I'm saying, and maybe the GMs of both Raw and SmackDown. So Knight's bouncing from both brands. Maybe he appears on NXT from time to time complaining to Ava, you know what I'm saying, The Rock's daughter, who's like the GM of NXT. And then you have him complaining to Nicholas Aldis or, you know, Adamamo Pierce. You know what I'm saying? You can have him complain to either of those people, and you move on, right? And they're just both giving him, you know what I'm saying, a bunch of hatred. They're not responding to him. They're not giving him his championship opportunities despite him winning matches and stuff like that. And speaking of winning matches, LA Knight, I think, has 1 or 2 televised victories in the last 4 months. And that he had one against Kofi Kingston in July, and the other one was against Zack Ryder on SmackDown last week. That is what he's done. In the midst, everything else has just been him losing. Just him losing. Whether it's a tag match or a one-on-one, he's just been losing. Losing and losing and losing and losing and losing. It's ridiculous. But anyways, you could have had a storyline where he's, you know, just upsetting the Authority backstage, right? So Nicholas Aldis and Adam Pearce and maybe Triple H, right? They're all upset with LA Knight a lot. And so LA Knight gets suspended. And then afterwards, he's basically camping outside of like Raw or SmackDown. And then like, you open a SmackDown or a Raw and they pan the camera out and you can just see him outside hiding in a car wearing like an all-black hoodie, trying to hide himself and get back into the arena and stuff like that, and he's cutting like PG-13 or rated R promos on TV, on camera, you know what I'm saying, or like on cam footage, and you can have him camping outside of the arena cutting like PG-13 or R-rated promos, you know what I'm saying, like The Rock was doing last year, the final boss, Mama Rose, you know, like The Rock was doing leading up to Mania 40. You could have Triple H cut, or LA Knight cutting promos like that about the management at WWE and about Triple H, you know what I'm saying, calling him out. It would be like kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit, right? Kind of calling out the higher ups in a mixture of like, you know, blurring the lines between what's in the storyline and what's not in the storyline, you know? That would have been sick, bro. And after all of this, the higher ups like Triple H and Nick Aldis, they come together, they're like, you know what? We're going to give this guy a chance. We're going to let him prove himself. And so Triple H and, you know, Nick Aldis scheme team against him and make him do a gauntlet to earn his way back into the company, right? Then LA Knight wins the gauntlet, and then Triple H comes out and congratulates him or whatever, and then Triple H says, but you know what? We have something else for you, So he does the whole gauntlet thinking he's going to earn his job back, and then of course, Triple H decides that he's going to give him one last final opponent, and that final opponent is like Brock Lesnar or Gunther or Obafemi comes up from NXT or something like that. Somebody dominant that could be a heel, you know what I'm saying, that can go in there. Well, I guess Gunther isn't really dominant anymore because he got tapped out by Jey Uso. He's kind of trash now. But maybe you bring up Obafemi, right? And he's the big bad that, you know what I'm saying, what's it called, that LA Knight has to be, you know what I mean? Or something like that. Just somebody, or even it could be like a 2v1 he has to win or a 3v1 he has to win. You know what I'm saying? It could be versus Judgment Day or some crap. I don't care. But he does that, and that's how he wins his job back in the company. And once he wins his job back, he enters into the Rumble or the Chamber, wins it, and earns a world title spot at WrestleMania, and then ultimately he wins that and becomes a world champion. That would be actually awesome. It's something that you could have done for this year's Mania at Mania 41, and you can still do it for next year's Mania, even though things are getting murky now that Rollins is out. You're probably going to have to throw Romano in there as per usual. You know what I'm saying? He's going to main event whatever regardless, but now that Cena's retired, Roman 100% is main eventing night 2. We're going to go back to what we were normally doing the last like 5 or 6 years where he main events night 2 every single night. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what's going to happen with that. So Roman Reigns will likely go back to main eventing night 2, but you can still have LA Knight maybe main event night 1 versus CM Punk or something for a world title. Is it a big enough match? Maybe not right now looking at it, but if you build it correctly, it can become a really big match. So there's multiple ways out of it. But the bottom line is that you actually had superstar level momentum with LA Knight, and you had it for over a year and a half at this point, but now it's completely like dying down. It's not died down, obviously. Like 80% of it is still there, but it's clearly lost a step a little bit, man. And the momentum has run out. The trigger could have been pulled by Triple Fraud, but it wasn't. And now it's gone too far, basically. And so LA Knight, who could have been a massive star, he could have been the mega star, yeah, but instead he's another failed star because Triple H sucks at his job and has ruined LA Knight. And with that being said, that's basically the end of LA Knight's career on the main roster. He will probably still show up. He'll have his matches. He'll make the crowd pop. He'll cut a good promo from time to time. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much every time he has a mic, he's probably going to cut a solid to good promo. But Triple H has sabotaged this dude's career. He's had him lose every meaningful match so the fans give up on him. He has him cut the same promo every week sometimes, you know what I'm saying, now about the world title, so fans get bored of him. And then ultimately, fans will be in disdain because they've given up on LA Knight winning anything meaningful, so his fan base will eventually, like, slowly, start to die out as well. It sucks that it's being said, but it's absolutely facts, guys, and we know it's coming because Triple H has ruined this dude's career, and that's the end of LA Knight on the main roster because Triple H sucks at his job. With that being said, I thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think about LA Knight and the trajectory of his career, or the lack thereof at this point. And as always, I appreciate it. I love it. And I thank you for watching. Have a phenomenal day. Peace out and one love.